everybody, thank you for tuning in today. It is ModelcarNick, and I have a lovely Hot Wheels Elite LaFerrari in a 1/18 scale. LaFerraris made by Hot Wheels, they come in, I think, 3 or maybe even 4 different colors. I know there's a red, black, and potentially a white one, and obviously this yellow one we're looking at right now. They only produced the coupe version of this particular car. We didn't get the Roadster. I think only BBR has a Roadster out right now. But yeah, let's kind of get into some of the features and details and my overall opinions on this car. But as you can see, it's finished in the stunning yellow color over black interior and silver wheels. And let's take a look at the front of the car starting off. So obviously there's a lot going on. This is a hypercar, so there's quite a few details to take in, and we'll start with the headlights up here. I think the headlights themselves, they're pretty basic. Obviously they could have went a lot more in detail with these, especially for this price point, which I'll get into. I paid $130 for this car. And I see them sell usually around the $150 mark or $140 mark is what they're usually going for on eBay these days. I did just see a recent low. 1 or 2 of them actually sold for $90 from the same seller, which was an absolutely incredible deal. And I don't think you'll be able to find that kind of deal anytime soon with this particular model. So yeah, getting back to the front of the car itself, as I said, the headlights could have been better. As you can see, they're pretty basic and no real, fancy details going on up there. But we have the daytime running lights and obviously the headlights themselves. Pretty lackluster in my opinion. I think they did a pretty good job with the hood vents up here. As you can see, there's kind of some slats and stuff going on up there. And this is a fully opening model, so I'll show you some of those details in a bit. I think one of the main reasons why you'd want to get a Hot Wheels Elite car is just because the details, obviously with the grills, are a lot better. These are actually like mesh grills, and you can kind of see a bit through them. You can't really make out really what's behind there, but I do like that feature. And so looking down here at the front splitter, this actually is finished in kind of a like matte paint. I would have loved to see carbon fiber up here, and I'll kind of get into some of the carbon bits of this car later. But up here, it's just matte, kind of blackish gray paint, and it looks just fine, but they didn't really go the extra mile and make that like carbon fiber or something like that. But up here, the Ferrari badge itself is just a sticker, it's not actually emblem or anything like that. So it looks good, but it's not amazing. Moving up with the hood itself, like I said, it does open, so you can get some of the details in there, which are actually pretty good. There's a bit of carbon fiber in there, and there's some, the fans themselves sitting behind that. No real luggage space or any other real details to take up here. I will note the hood latch, or the struts the hood sits on itself. They're not great. We don't have like what Auto Art would do with the actual struts or anything like that. It's just these 2 big plasticky, hinges right there, which don't look great, but it does the job. As I said, carbon fiber up here, but this is actually Maisto quality carbon fiber. It's got that textured to it, as you can hear it. So they really cheaped out on this model, I must say, with the carbon fiber details. All the carbon is like that on this car, which is pretty unfortunate because, this is a pretty expensive car, and they should have probably, did a little bit better up there. The feel of the car itself, it's kind of got this like plasticky feeling to it, which is not great, I must say. So that is another letdown for this model. I think the only thing it does well is it just looks really good. But moving down towards the side of the car, let's take in some of the features of the wheels. So as you can see, we have a 5-spoke wheel with big red brake calipers with the Ferrari riding down the side of it, so that is kind of nice. There is drilled rotors sitting behind there, and they look fairly decent. The tread on the wheel itself, nothing really too crazy going on, but they do look good. But there is no, tire branding on the wheels, so another letdown, but not really too uncommon on these kind of models. There is a turn signal indicator, which is just kind of a dot stuck on there, but it looks fairly decent. The Ferrari Scuderia shield is sitting on the side, and it does look pretty good, but it is just kind of another sticker. It's not an actual badge itself. The mirrors themselves do look fairly decent. As you can see, they kind of sit on these really long stalks, but they do look fairly good. The doors do open on this car, but you do kind of have like this really nasty panel gap right here. As you can see, the door doesn't really shut all the way, which is kind of unfortunate. And I think it is it's definitely better on this side, but for some reason this door just doesn't want to sit all the way down. So if you're picking up one of these models, maybe that's something you should look for, that the door doesn't close all the way, which is very unfortunate. But moving up here, you can kind of see some of the details in the front. That isn't really, a real vent or anything. As you can see, it's just kind of stuck on plastic. I will say, you wouldn't really take that in normally, because it just sits like this, so it's not really a huge issue with this model, but it is something to note. Back there, that hood vent, that side vent, you can't really see much through there. It's kind of just got that kind of textured it's carbon fiber, but it's the same like it is in the front, kind of the textured carbon fiber, which is not great. Down here we have some side skirts, which is just matte. It's kind of just plastic, no carbon fiber on this side, which is another kind of drawback to this model. Moving on towards the rear, obviously gas cap or the hybrid cap either side. I'm not too sure which one's which, but it's there. They did a pretty nice job though sculpting the rear end, but nothing really too crazy going on. There's some side vents up here on the rear deck lid, as you can see, which you can't really see through them, and that's fine. The rear wheels themselves pretty much the same as the front, so I won't really go into too much detail there. Moving on towards the rear, as you can see, we do have a little bit more mesh, but it's kind of you can see through it, but you can't really see any of the engine details behind there. BBR definitely does a way better job with their mesh. Obviously, this is a cheaper model, but that is something to note. The rear taillights themselves look fairly decent. Nothing really too much going on with those. Quad exhaust with silver tailpipes. That's pretty standard on all Ferrari models, so that's another cool feature to note. But they don't go down too deep. As you can see, it's kind of a stopper in there, which is unfortunate. But the diffuser itself also kind of, let's see. Yeah, it's just matte black plastic. So no carbon fiber on the rear. Another letdown. So Ferrari badge itself looks fairly decent, but pretty standard. And then they have the rear brake light down there, which looks really good actually. I'll go ahead and open up this engine bay so you can see what's under the rear hood, I guess. And as you can see, pretty much decent levels of detail back here. A little bit more carbon fiber, as you can see, all over the place. It's still that textured carbon fiber. Looks like this is pretty dusty, but yeah, it's all carbon fiber. You can kind of see down there with the engine block, they did paint it red, which is a pretty nice detail. I don't think any of the Maestos have that, so that's kind of a step up. But besides that, it kind of does look like a Maesto engine bay. It's just fine. Nothing really too crazy going on with that though. So I'll go ahead and close that up, and we'll look at this rear deck lid right here again, and you can kind of see some of the engine details through that. And they did use some more mesh down the side to kind of emulate the real car, but it's kind of just that, thick, blocky mesh. So nothing really too amazing with that. There is a Ferrari badge as well right there, and it looks pretty decent. So let's kind of take a look at the interior. And I think the interior is one of the main selling points of this model. So the doors do go up a pretty decent amount, but obviously you kind of don't get the full effect. They don't come up as much as they probably should on the real car. Let's see what we can see in the interior. So as you can see, there's a bunch of yellow piping on the seats, and this is such a hard car to film, and I'll do my best, but let's take a look. So like I said earlier, yellow piping on the seats, which really does stand out when you have the doors closed. But the rest of the details in here, they're fairly standard. Looks like we have some, yellow gauges on that, the cluster right up there. But honestly, not really too much going on. There's no really carbon fiber details in here at all. Let's take a look. I mean, I guess on the center console and stuff like that, but not as much as you'd really expect to see like on the side sills and stuff like that. It's all plastic, and it looks, not amazing. I'll go ahead and close this door so you can see what's on the inside, if I can show you. And it seems like I can't. It's just kind of a lot of plastic. There's a bit of yellow paint on the door pull right there, so that's kind of a nice feature. But yeah, I mean, not really too much going on in there. So let's kind of get to my overall opinions on this particular model. And as you can see, this isn't really a great model. I wouldn't say it's worth $130. The only reason you would pick this car up is if you really want a yellow LaFerrari in your collection and don't want to spend BBR money. I will say the BBR LaFerraris are getting pretty cheap these days, though. They're about, I've seen some sell for under $300, and they usually float around that $350 mark if you can find a good deal. And I would honestly really encourage you to step up to the BBR model. Instead of paying for this one. I think that BBR model is just so much better, and you're really paying and you're getting like what you're paying for. On this, I feel like you're paying for, like a GT Spirit type quality model, but you're kind of getting something more of on the Maisto level. Yes, it does have pretty decent glass on the car itself. I mean, it feels pretty good. It's not like flimsy or anything, but I just got it because I'm trying to build the yellow Big 5 collection, and this was the cheapest way to get into it and get a pretty decent looking model. But yeah, besides that, I probably should have got the BBR one, and honestly, if you can afford it, I would recommend you getting it as well. But if you're gonna go after another LaFerrari model, and maybe it doesn't have to be a yellow one, then probably just see if you can spend at least, I'd probably say this model's worth maybe $70 max, to be honest, just with the level of quality you get, and just, the door is not great, the carbon fiber is absolutely terrible, and just, a lack of features on this car. So, like I said, it's not a good model, and I'd really probably give it a 5 out of 10, maybe even deserves lower than that. But yeah, that's kind of my review on this car. It's not as good as you'd want it to be. It just looks good from a distance, I'd say, as you can see. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think this model's worth it, or do you think it's like trash pretty much? But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, you gotta like, you gotta subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you in the next video. I appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.